let's talk a little bit about, not anything too in-depth, but just a little bit about the general generic electrical system found in general aviation airplanes. So if you're starting out, if you're new to flight training, if you're currently training at your private, like me, when you stepped into an airplane for the first time, the electrical field, electricity is not my strong suit, or hasn't been, I should say.
Okay, good afternoon,
and it was
1620, we're out of 12, descending on the rocker.
It was literally Chinese to me. It was completely foreign. You talked to me about it, alternators and batteries, and it was just beyond confusing. But as time went on, and you spend more and more time in these airplanes, and you study them, and you turn on and off switches, and you see what happens, you sort of get an idea for not only how it works, but how similar it all is from one general aviation plane to the next. So let's talk a little bit about the few buttons there, or switches, found to the left here. In this specific airplane, so Cessna 206, we have a standby battery. Some airplanes don't have a standby battery. Some airplanes have two batteries. If you look at Cirruses, if you look at Cessnas, but here we have a standby battery, and that's this red switch over here. That's this red switch. So this red switch has 3 positions on it. That's the standby battery. And the 3 positions, the first one is in the middle, is off. And when it's off, it's just offline. The second one is test on the bottom here. And what that does is actually it lets you know, it's part of the pre-flight, and it's the way for the pilot to go ahead and verify before you go fly whether or not your standby battery is healthy enough in order for it to be able to hold your hand in the event that you are done or completely drained the main battery and you need the assistance or the help of the standby battery to feed the system a little bit. And the way we do that is we hold down that red switch towards the test position, and a green light right here next to the test turns on. And we hold it down for 10 seconds. And that's basically the way for us, the pilots, to verify that the system has enough juice, if you will, and is healthy enough in order for us to conduct our flight, and being able to confidently know that our standby battery is there if we need it. So what that looks like is this. And by the way, right now, I have alternators, I have a main battery, and I have a standby battery.
1620 approach 134.2.
And so I have the alternator charging the system, the main battery, and I have the main battery.
15 top approach 124.6, 146.
246, 125 golf.
That was 1904, coming King Followable 230.
And approach, good afternoon, Station Air 1215 Golf, 8,300, climbing 9,500.
Station Air 1215 Golf, SoCal approach, Roger, Burbank altimeter 2987.
87, 1215 Golf. There we go. So, we have an alternator charging the battery, we have a battery feeding the system, we have a standby battery in the event that we need to, or that we drain the main battery and now we need a little bit of help from our standby battery. So, in our case, we have everything working, everything's good.
Climbing 4,000.
But, in a little bit, I'll be turning off some switches here. I'll be turning off some switches so you guys can see for yourself what happens and how the system reacts, and what indications can you expect to see in the cockpit in the event that you had an alternator failure, in the event that your main battery is drained, in the event that your standby battery. What if you lost, here's an interesting question, what if we lost our standby battery right now? So we're flying along, our alternator and main battery are working just fine, but our standby battery, for whatever reason, we lost it. Would we have an indication? That's an interesting question, right? I'd want to know that. And this actually goes back to what I talk about often is, when you sit in your plane next, just turn switches on and off and see what your plane does. Get intimately familiar with it. So let's, off the bat, test that and see what happens. So right now I have the standby battery on arm. And arm basically means that if we lose the main battery and the alternators, we will automatically transfer and utilize our standby battery. It's armed. It's just like, think of the ELT being armed right over there. It's a similar thing. It just puts it in a position where we'll automatically, its juice will be drawn automatically in the event that we need it. But let's go to an experiment. Let me go to turn that standby battery off and see if I see anything here, meaning if I lost it in flight, and it's no longer armed, would I have an indication? So let's go and take a look. So right now it's armed, and I'm moving it to off. There it is. It's in the off position, and I'm looking. I don't hear anything. I don't see anything. My system right here, the electrical system, still looks really, really good, right? My main bus, my essential bus, 28 volts, really healthy, and my alternator's charging. Everything's looking really, 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 really good. I don't hear anything, and I don't see anything. So now I know that if I lost my standby battery, I probably wouldn't know it unless I went ahead and tried and test it, and the light wouldn't come on, or it wouldn't hold on for 10 seconds. Or even worse, if I didn't do that and I drained my main battery, we'd get to the standby and there wouldn't be anything there for us. So just something to keep in mind. So let's go and put it back to the arm position right there. And again, putting it back to the arm, we still don't see anything. So really, there's no indication that comes up on the screen to let me know whether it's on or offline. There we go. We reached our cruise altitude. All looks good. There we are. System looks good. And we're trimmed. And we could zoom out. We could close our cowl flaps in a little bit when the CHDs here drop a little further. Once they reach 400, we'll close the cowl flaps. And looks like the computer's calling 44 minutes left to our flight to Trona. There we go. Okay, so we turned off the standby battery. I didn't see any indication. I put it back to arm. Now let me show you real quick what testing it looks like. So when you show up to do your pre-flight, what are we actually looking for to remain on for 10 seconds? So I hope the camera could see it here with my position. So if I go one down, now that's off. But if I hold it down, check it out. You see that green light over there? I'm holding it down. You have to hold it down because if I let go, look at that. It goes back to off. So I'm holding it down, and I want to make sure that it stays on for 10 seconds, this green test light. Once it does, I flip it to the top, to the arm position. And that's a normal flying procedure. So you show up, that's part of your pre-flight. And now we made sure that the standby battery, in the event that we need to use it, not only is armed, meaning it will be drawn, its juice will be drawn automatically in the event that we drained our main battery, but that it has enough juice to help us. So we tested it and we armed it. So both those things are taken care of. So a few things we verified here. If we lose it, I won't have an indication. The way I test it is hold it down for 10 seconds, make sure that green light stays on, and once I verified that, I'm happy. I can go ahead and flip it to the arm position, and now it's in the arm position and we're good to go. Now, following that red, or this little standby battery switch, right under it here to the left is our red master switches. And I call it master switches because there's two switches in there. There's a right one and a left one. I don't know if you guys can see right here. The
Joshua approach 124.55.
2455. Have a good day, sir. 125 golf.
455.
Aircraft calling up, coming in very broken, unreadable.
Broken, unreadable. And approach, good afternoon, stationaire 1215 golf, level 9,500.
Stationaire 1215 golf, Joshua Approach, roger, Palm Dog Center 2989er.
2989er, 1215 golf. There we go.
15 golf traffic, 3 o'clock, about 5 miles northwestbound, is a flight of 2, Bonanzas, 8,500.
Roger, list the traffic, 15 golf.
November 69 Whiskey, traffic 9 o'clock, 5 miles northeastbound, stationaire 9,500.
Yeah, 69 was too good looking.
All right, that's taken care of.
9 Delta X-ray,
temperatures are coming down.
We'll
get the cowl flaps here in a moment. Okay, so we have two switches here, master switches, the red ones. And if you can see here, the left one is alternator, and then the right one is battery. So we have two. We have an alternator and a battery. So back to what we talked about a moment ago. There's the temperatures are good. I'll close the cowl flaps, gain a few knots here in ground speed. So back to the engine page. Right here is basically our electrical on the EIS, is our electrical indication. So it tells us about the electrical system, the health of our electrical system, and what things look like. So right now it's showing me there's pluses, right? So the alternators are charging the battery. So we're good. According to what we said a moment ago, we have an alternator that charges the battery. We have a battery that is being charged by an alternator, and then we have a standby battery, which will automatically be providing us electrical power for not that long, in the event that we lost, obviously, an alternator and our main battery. So what that means is, we experimented with the standby battery. We saw what that looks like if we lose it or if we turn it on. But if we lost an alternator, meaning our main battery is healthy, it's good, but let's say we lost our alternator. I'm curious, what indication would we get, if any? How would we know that? What will we be looking for? What will you be looking for in the event that you lost an alternator? And what would that ultimately do to our battery? So it's just like your iPhone. If your iPhone is plugged into the power outlet, and you're using your iPhone heavily, or a laptop, right? Think of a laptop as better. While using your laptop and imposing a load on it, if I disconnected your laptop from the power outlet, you could continue doing the work on your laptop that you were doing up to that point. But what would happen is that within a given amount of time, depending how big your battery is, you will run out of power, and you no longer will be able to, you'll lose your electrical system, you no longer will be able to use your laptop. In our case, if you think of the plane as a laptop, you could imagine a small little standby battery near your laptop, and if you have it in the arm position, it will automatically provide power to the laptop once the main batteries deplete. So in our case, if we turn off the alternator, what would we see? So let's go ahead and take away, we'll turn off the thing that charges our battery. And let's go ahead and see what that does. So like we said, that would be the left switch over here. And I want you to keep your eyes right over here once I turn that off. So here we go. Let's go ahead and turn that off and see what happens. So here's the alternator, and I turned just that half off. We don't hear anything. There's no oral anything. And then here, look at this. Our volts drop of the system, so it's 24.7, 24.6. And then look at this. Our main bus is discharging 26.5 amps. Look at that, 26.5 amps, and it turns yellow. So it could catch your eye nice and quick. So if you're flying along and you see a yellow thing down here in the electrical little corner there on the bottom, that's a really good indication to maybe look at your circuit breakers, or maybe accidentally you hit that switch, or you just happen to lose your alternator. Whatever it might be. So it turns yellow, and obviously, as anticipated, we see a discharge. Now we'll bring it back on, and let's see what happens. Boom, it's charging the system. We get a huge positive plus, and we have our buses 28 volts, nice and healthy. And obviously, the amount that it's charging is decreasing, because now it's equalizing, and it's making up for all that power that we drew when the alternator was off. So that plus amount is coming down. So there we have it. And obviously, if I turned my battery off, I would lose my radios, and I do want to communicate with ADC, so I won't do that. But that's pretty much something that you do on every single flight. When you're done with the flight, you turn the batteries off, and the whole system goes away. So it doesn't go away if you still have your standby battery on, but if you turn the standby off and the main battery off, then it all goes away. And that's pretty much what that does. So to summarize, again, I don't know what plane you're specifically flying, but they're pretty all similar. You have an alternator, which is the charging, it's the thing that charges your battery. So think of the alternator as the power outlet in your house that charges your laptop. The laptop is our battery, the laptop is the airplane, and the airplane's battery, the laptop's battery, is our the battery master switch. That controls the battery. So we have an alternator, and we have a battery. The alternator charges the battery. In the event that we lost an alternator, and it no longer can charge our battery will keep providing us with power until the battery depletes. Was that 2365 for 15 Golf?
3365.
3365, 15 Golf. And approach station air 1215 Golf, level 9,500.
Right, 15 Golf, I was talking to a whole other aircraft. Stand by, please. For your 660 affirmative, across the 30 miles east of Fresno at maintain level 200.
Anyhow.
November 1215 Golf, dash approach air was altimeter 2983.
2983, 15 Golf. So we have an alternator that charges the battery. We have a battery which provides power to the system. If we lose the alternator, the battery won't shut off immediately. Remember, it still has juice of its own and we need to deplete it, just like your laptop. And then in addition to that, we have a standby battery, which every time before we go fly, we test to make sure it has the sufficient amount of juice to provide us in the event that we need to rely on it. And then we place it in the arm position, which means that if we lose our main battery for whatever reason, we'll automatically transfer and start drawing from our standby battery. Really, that's all there is to it. And then these white switches here are the avionics buses, which we bring online separately once the engine is turning and the alternators are charging, because the avionics draw a really heavy load. And so we don't want to start the airplane and impose that big of a load on the alternators off the bat. So we sort of want to bring that online separately. Otherwise, I hope that covered for you this little corner in the flight deck here, and it's pretty universal from plane to plane. Your switches might look a little different, their positions might be a little different, but a plane's a plane's a plane, an electrical system's an electrical system's an electrical system. So I hope that makes sense for you. I got the buttons, the switches all back where I want them. My electrical system looks real good, and that's that. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment, shoot me an email. I do my very best to cover any and all topics on these flights with my students, or just in general answering emails privately with people who reach out. So I hope that makes sense. I hope that clarified a little bit about the electrical system for you and really simplified it, because it's nothing too complicated. There's a charging device, there's a battery, and then some airplanes have a standby battery. And that's all there is to it. Real simple. So I hope that all makes sense. A little bit, nothing too in-depth about the electrical system.